guys, we're doing chapter 12, lesson 9 today. It's on page 955 if you want to follow along in your books. We're talking about the volume of prisms today. So prisms being the three-dimensional figures that we've talked about in previous lessons, and volume is a type of measurement that we take. It's the amount of space inside of a 3D figure. So if I'm thinking about taking a rectangular prism and I want to know how much can fit inside of it, come on. I'm trying to get him to fit inside of it. I want to know the amount of space inside of that object, how much can fit in it, okay? So we don't measure with kittens, we measure with cubes. So what you would think about is if I'm taking this box, I would find 1 cube unit. If it's in feet, it would be 1 cubic foot. If it's in inches, 1 cubic inch. How many cubes could I fit packed tightly inside of there? That's what we're looking at when we look at volume, okay? So we're gonna look at this. The measurements, or the formula that we use, we take the length and the width, and there's a third one because it's 3D, the height, okay? So when you're thinking about area with two-dimensional figures, you are thinking, oh, I did length times width, that gave me the area. Now, we also multiply by the height, so it tells us the amount of space inside. So to find volume, we do length times width times height. You might also see it written as base times height. That's because we call this bottom face here the base, and that's the length times the width. That gives you the base times height. So it's like thinking of it as length times width times height, base times height. Same thing, okay? All right, so let's do a really simple one just to get us started. If I've got a figure, actually let's just use the one I have right here. Let's say this was 3 by 2 by 4, okay? I'm gonna do length times width, which is also considered the base, times the height. Now, commutative property tells me I can put these in any order, still get the same answer. Associative property tells me I can group them however I want, so I could find the base first, but if it makes it easier to find another one first, that's fine too. So in this case, I'll find the base. 3 times 2 is 6. So now I'm doing 6 times 4, which is 24. And I didn't give you a unit here, so this would just be cubic units. Remember we talked about those exponents, how the 3 was cubed? There you go. Told you it would make more sense. So that's 24 units cubed. That's the volume, okay? All right, let's get into some examples in the book here. So looking at that first example, they give you a problem about a cooler. They're filling a cooler for their road trip, okay? And they want to know what the volume is, what amount of space there is in there. So if you look in your book on page 955, it shows you a picture there of the cooler. I'm going to go ahead and just recreate the prism version of it here real quick. It's not going to be perfect, but we'll pretend it is. All right, and the dimensions are 30 by 15 by 20. 30 by 15, and the height was 20, okay? So we're going to use our formula for that, length times width times height. So 30 times 15 times 20. I know that, again, that I can rearrange these however I want to, and I'll still get the same answer. I'm going to go ahead and do 30 times 20 first because I know my trick for that. 3 times 2 is 6. Add the 2 zeros, that gives me 600. And now I'm going to multiply the 15. Sorry, please ignore my cat running around behind. Okay, so moving on. 5 times 0 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 6 is 30. 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 6 is 6. Add those together, and we get 9,000. Now, right now, I didn't have the units on mine. In theirs, they were using inches. You'll notice in the book, it was labeled, all of these were inches, okay? So the volume here is 9,000 cubic inches or inches cubed. You can write that as IN, the abbreviation, with a little exponent 3 by it. So that's how we find volume. Let's do a few practices together. Okay, moving on to page 956 here. On page 956, they show you up at the top, we're doing example 2 here. And it's 17 by 7 by 9. And the units are centimeters. Okay, so think to yourself, what's the formula I need to use to find the volume? If you said length times width times height, you're correct. So we're doing 17 times 7 times 9. Okay, and again, commutative property or associative property tells us I can arrange these how I want to. Because I know 7 times 9, I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So I'm doing 17 times 63. Okay, when I have big numbers like this, I usually like to stack them, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stack these to multiply. And then I'm going to multiply through. 17 times 3 is 21. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Add those together. And Mozzie has found for us that it's 1,071, and don't forget centimeters cubed. Sorry, my writing's getting a little sloppy as I awkwardly do that angle, but that's where we're at. All right, I'm gonna slow it down a little bit and have you guys try some along with me. So have a piece of paper or something that you can write on, or your book, whatever you want, next to you for these next 2 problems so you can practice along with me. If you need extra time before I move on, then pause your video and unpause it when you're ready to keep going. All right, so I'm still on page 956, but I'm doing those guided practice 1 and 2. So let's do number 1 here first. I'm gonna erase this information and we're gonna try with what we've learned. All right. Pretend that's better than it is. All right, it's 11 by 7 by 9, and we're using millimeters. Just because it's my picture, ignore the fact that, you know, the 11 looks smaller than the 7. Just ignore that for now. Okay. So again here, think about the formula that you need to use. Yeah, volume, length times width times height. 11 times 7 times 9. Sorry for this distraction, guys. I'm getting very attacked. I know, he's cute, isn't he? Okay. Okay. So moving from here, I'm going to group the 11 and 7 because I know right there that's 77. And then I just have to multiply by the 9. Go ahead and solve this. Pause if you need to. Solve, and then come back. Okay, so I'm going to solve. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 6 is 69 for 693. And we were using millimeters, so write down what the volume is with units. Yeah, 693 millimeters cubed. Okay? All right, moving on to our next one. Find my eraser here. We're going to do one more practice together on this video. All right. So this is guided practice number 2. Next. Okay. It was 6 by 4 by 12. And we're using feet this time. All right, on this one, I'm gonna think about it as base times height. So remember, the base is this bottom part here, and I find it by doing 6 times 4. So if I think as volume is base times height, well, I know the base 6 by 4, I know that in my head, that's 24. And then I'm gonna multiply by the height, which is 12. Okay, go ahead and solve for the volume, pause, come back and check with me. Okay, so again, I'm doing base times height. I'm gonna stack it though. Write it vertically. And we're gonna solve here. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. And then moving on to the next one. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. And 2. 288. You should have written it with units. If you didn't yet, add your units. It's cubic feet, or feet cubed. Okay, hopefully you're catching on. If you need extra help, then I will make another video where we do just a couple more examples. But if you feel good about it, then go ahead and do the even number problems on the independent practice on page 957. Try those out, see how you do. If you want to check your answers on my next video, you can do that as well. All right, hope that helps. See you guys. Thanks for checking in with me. Trying to find my clicker to turn you off.